And they make Haskomo Gadash, as it said in the Pasuk, Vayihi Yishurim Melech, V'Sasei Roshei O, Yachad Shiftei Yisrael. HaKadosh Baruch Hu Mis'aleh u'Mishalel Ba'olamai V'Asifosom V'Avoidosom, with their gathering and with their avodah. V'Ha'ish HaKodesh Midarkei HaTzibur, one who separates himself from the Haskamas, from the agreements of the Tzibur. Hine hu mekatrei haskamas avodas Hashem, uchi yotzei miklal hamekachim es Hashem. Umane atzmo, he shows himself ki lo yachvoitz liois b'soidom, ulihikosei b'ksolom, and hine hu mechalel eso avoidom. And he is b'chlal b'kitoy shezochanu, Shehem Boizim Dvar Hashem, and Rachmon Litzlon Elohem Chelek Lo'olam Habo. If one sings on the internet, he did an Aveda. But if one repudiates the Haskamas HaKol, he belongs to Kodesh Midarkei HaTzibur. The Hashem said to the Kiheim Me'iyim Leiv Chalushei HaDeos. They weaken the hearts of those who aren't so strong. B'frishosov Midarkei HaTzibur. V'hinei Min HaMachtir Es Moramim. So before someone thinks that I can do what I like, one must remember he cannot repudiate 40,000 Yidden who are Mekabel, Haskomas, and Hayroes, Yudoyle Hador, with Ahava and with Yiro. And the Rambam writes, Noyal and Darkei Hatshuva, from those who are Pedish Min HaTzibur, and those who do not join in the Haskalah B'Tzibur, Eine Zoiche Imohem B'Schias Shobois. And the Tzibur tonight will accept the Heiroes Yudoyle Hador and the Haskalahs of Shloimei Emunah Yisrael will be binding on us all. I know that tonight the media is represented here. And although it's fine with us if this event is not covered in the media, we are a modest people and we don't view having our name in the paper as some major accomplishment. Even a bank robber can do that. But we understand the curiosity, and most of all, we want to speak to our brethren all across America. Some of them who are unaffiliated and who are wondering who we are and what this is all about. In 1 week, we will be celebrating the festival of Shavuos. This commemorates a day in history when the heavens opened and the Almighty spoke to us as we were gathered 600,000 strong at the foot of Har Sinai, of Mount Sinai. And the oral tradition teaches us that every single Jewish soul was at Mount Sinai. And the Rebbeinu Shalom, the Almighty, spoke to us, and He gave us the Torah, and His words were sealed into our souls, and into the consciousness of the world for all eternity. And these words are the foundations of morality for all of Western civilization. We became the chosen people, although that may seem an outdated, archaic, maybe elitist idea, but we cling to this truth with every fiber of our being. And on that day, the Almighty said to us, "You shall be a kingdom of priests, a holy nation. You should act and live your lives in a way that illuminate the world." Do we always live up to this exalted mission? Not always. Sometimes we fall. We're human beings and we make mistakes. But we try. We want to be good. But most of all, we want to transmit this sacred calling to our children and grandchildren. One of the most poignant, somber times, one of the most exalted moments in a Jewish household is on Friday afternoon, late, before sunset, when we usher in the Holy Shabbos, the Sabbath. And that job is assigned to the mother of the household. And she kindles the Shabbos lights, and she covers her face with her hands, and she prays. She asks the Zakei, "I should be worthy to raise children and grandchildren. They should be wise and understanding. They should love Hashem. They should fear Him. They should be men of truth, honorable people, men of integrity, holy children who cleave to Hashem. They should light up the world with their Torah, with their good deeds, and with the work of the Creator." And when the mother prays this prayer, accompanied by tears, I remember as a young child seeing my saving grandmother. She was frail, she had to sit down for 3/4 of an hour. She would cry and say the name of every grandchild and every great-grandchild. Please, please, they should be holy children. When an Orthodox Jewish child is 3 years old, and the first day his father takes him to cheder, to religious school, he wraps him in a tallis, he wraps him in a prayer shawl, so that his eyes shouldn't see the impurities of the world, so his innocence shouldn't be compromised. And when a religious Jew wakes up in the morning, he prays that I and my children and my children's children should know your holy name and should learn your holy Torah. This is who we are. And this is why we have gathered here today. We love and respect and cherish this great country. And has done so much for us and all of humanity. But we've been around a long time. We've seen great empires rise and fall. And history has taught us the peril of ignoring the eternal truths, the morality that was revealed that day thousands of years ago. We look at society, we see the broken souls, the dysfunctional people. We see a society rushing to enact laws that defy our Creator and demean the sanctity of human beings. We plead and we pray, come to your senses. Come to your senses. We are here for the sake of our children. We are here for ourselves. And we are here for the sake of the one who created us all. Shavuos geschieht.
There are two ways for one to become a tzaddik. There's the long, arduous, many years of Harvanya, and then there's another way. When a person lives in a tkufa, where there's an onslaught of tumor, of pritzes, of hefkeres, and he turns his back on all of that, and he says, I want to be done in the Rebbeinu Shalom. At that moment, he is zoicher to a level of kedusha that equals all of that tumor that he turned away from. Imagine the opportunity. Think of the billions and billions of hours and dollars of thought and creativity that has been poured into this internet to produce the climashtas that it is. Imagine getting all of that to kedusha with pulsing through our neshamas. I want to share with you one observation that I heard from a prestigious mechanic. Many say we're too late. We're entrenched in the internet, in our devices, in our gadgets. And Eretz Yisrael, Baruch Hashem, is an entire tzibur, Li'ayin Orah, who listen to the takanas of Gedolei Yisrael, and most of the tzibur is far, far removed from all of these in Yonah. But in America, it's too late. But there was a time you had Ehrliche, Chassidische Yilach, Yeshivische B'nai Torah Kinder, who would never dream of having a television in their house. But by Zaidi and Bali, they were still from the generation, still had television. There was such a thing. Sometimes it takes a generation. Even if Chas v'Shalom, we've already lost the 20 to 35-year-olds, and I don't believe it's so. But we don't have to lose the 0 to 20s. We can put a stop to it now. I've seen with my own eyes people giving children of 11 years old Blackberries and iPhones and iPods. They have their minds. What do they do? My child was Henry. Do you remember what I want to be a child? I tell you, when I was 11 years old, if someone would give me such a machine, in 20 seconds, I would have tried to explore everything on that machine. Israel has to rise like a lioness, fighting to protect her cubs. For years we've been retreating and retreating. We can't stop this, we can't stop this. Retreat and retreat and retreat. We can no longer retreat. Tonight we draw the demarcation line in the sand. And from now on we're going forward. And we have to strive to go forward. Those who join the worship and play, there are thousands of you there tonight who have no shyness to the internet, with a filter, without a filter. Everyone here could think of becoming one of them. Join those thousands. Don't think just because you have a black hat and live in Lakewood, or you have a shiny little laser, a geek with a blue shirt without a hat can also decide, I don't know. He can also say, this is between me and the Goyish, and I want Kedusha, and I want Tahara. We are not a nation of weaklings. We have reservoirs of strength. We have stories. We have koiches and nuclear. We know how I didn't say this word. They were out of the serious nefesh. We heard their stories. We heard how they made a second of Sukin Auschwitz. What do we tell our grandchildren? We couldn't give away this Auschwitz. How will we face them? They were misguided in history. The warriors and the fighters were much stronger than us. And the enemy was weaker than the one we face today. Today we are much weaker than them, and the enemy is far stronger. But we have something that they weren't able to have in those days. We have the koyach for we have the conviction of all the tens of thousands who are gathered here today, and those who are listening in all locations in the world who have made a decision. We have had enough. We want to be schmutz. We want to be clean. Those some of our entertainment. Do we really need it? 10 years ago, nobody had it. Just because it's available. There are many forms of recreation that we don't engage in. Even forms of recognizing us. How many of us go hunting? We feel that we're deprived because we can't have it our living room goose head with antlers. We're happy to have pictures of our sailors. We don't need this. We can be bigger and better than this. At Wayside, I just want to share with you the words of the God. Heilige Werte, ich weiß nicht, welche Sprache, ob es in Jiddisch, Englisch, Russisch, alle Sprachen. Because I believe it's the Dvar Hashem for those of us here tonight. The Heilige God wrote, יש שני מיני יצהרה מהתותייס של יצהרה. אחד פרוטי ואחד כללי. One is private and one is communal. Harishon, the first one, Mesis, Umefater, Chas V'Sholom, Kol Echad Ve'echad V'Fi Mashu. The first one attacks each one privately. But the second Yetzirah is a Yetzirah Kloli. The whole Dora V'Dora in every generation comes the Yetzirah Lechosis U'Ahave Tziburim U'Klolio Shel Am Yisrael Be'eza Aveda that tries to bring and to tempt the Tzibur of Klal Yisrael to Chet Oy Pagam Oy Deir Koizeves. Zog the Goyim Bismahu Kishebo HaKlal, the Yetzirah that comes and attacks the Tzibur, he not so many we cannot be saved from it, B'Shuman. Rak Kishenoitim L'Tzav Hashemi Shebikdusha. If you bend towards the more Heilige side, even though B'Shuman Kitikuna Meisa Muchel Kolkach. Oh no, B'Sman Kosmet, in a time like this, he's grabbed hold of the tzibur, he has them ensnared. You have to go to the ultimate, the furthest salatoy. And on this Chazal, the Gemara in Gittin, Dever Bo'ir, when there's a Dever in the city, Al Yaholach Odom Be'emsa Hadrot. You can't go middle of the road. But they Shabalach Hamoves Be'emsa, and when the Halach B'tzidei Hadrot. You have to go to the summit. We can't depend on any system to help us. Every person has to know. When you're faced with such a decision, you're faced with a machine, you're holding it in your hands, it represents thousands and thousands of hours of the rest of your life. What are you going to choose? Let us not look for compromise. Every one of us can go up, can go further than we thought of going tonight. And the Eibusher, who promised us Abol and Tar Messiah, will hear our tefillos as we beg and we plead. The Eibusher, you promised us, Shloich V'Kishen Kol Shemon Shmato, Shloich V'Neilo Elohim Voed, that the light and the oil and Yiddishkeit will shine in us forever. Wir beten bei der Heilige Tate, Al Tashlichenu Milfoneno,
gegangen war Nacht. Ein Gemacht gegangen war Nacht. Wir kriegen eine neue Teil in Hand. Eine neue Teil. Da ruft ihm eine neue Teil. It depends what you do when you come home. You walk into the house, you say to your children, look, a new Blackberry. A new iPhone has 2 apps. Oh, look how good this is. Hast du verloren in der Mulchummer sein? Weil die maschinengemäße Dinge, die maschinengemäße Keili. Mit keinem Schmatzlicht sein mit dem. Wenn wir Buhren was du los, ist Mues. Ich darf es wohl spannend. Es ist nichts. Leute darf ich gefunden. Auch nichts ist Kuschel bei mir. Am mir hoch der Keili auf eurer Hände. Aber es ist nicht auch Kuschel bei mir. Sie sagen mit Uhr. Sie sagen Mues bei mir. Sie sagen Bauern und Liebhaber. Und deine Kinder wissen, was hat sich geschaut, hat sich geschielt, und die Rest ist nicht nützen. Das ist der Eugen, wie mit man zu lehren. Ich will Teile sagen, zu den Nuschen, wo dann du. Ja, aber nur mal wenig. Erste Säule in Menge was nicht. The next surah, I shall send them away. Why? Why are you shouting? Don't encourage them. Stay back and you trust them on who that's how. In our seed, there are 2 places. To the Tate and to the Mama. Our Tate is in the toilet. Our Mama is showing us our eyes. Our Mama is the one who protects the house from poisoners. Our mother is the one who takes his fire and sees that the house should be clean. Tithing and honest. It's your kindness. It's your shield that your house should be clean. Clean from magazines. Clean from telephones with texts and other things. Clean from internet. It's your job because the seed is alive. Lift of the notion to tonics of the day. And it's good notion to tonics. We are going to go to the Kuhula. And that's your task here. To watch the Chayes alive. To keep the Chayes alive. And that's good to bring all the Klal Yisrael to the Kuhula. It's very much fun.
We have the lights. We have the lights. It's not finished. Oh, she's going to sit down.
Maybe just to finish off the evening, first of all, Reverend Nוישטט, that was an amazing, inspiring speech today. Something that surely will stay with us, very, very thought-provoking. If you permission, I'm just going to mention something that I read as in an essay in the name of your father, Rabbi Israel Tauber. I'm going to the story you mentioned about Ishmael. On the basic level, Abraham was tormented by having to send away his son. He was angry, he was upset by this. But Rabbi Tauber quotes from the Chassam Sofer, who says there was something else. He had a different opinion from Sarah. He felt that some exposure was good for his son Yitzchak. Many of us have heard that argument before. Better they grow up with some exposure and make him stronger in the long run. The Rebbe Shlomo himself passed it. He passed a no. To have Yitzchak, the continuity of Klal Yisrael, for the radicality of Klal Yisrael, you need no exposure. You couldn't afford to have the Mitzvah Ishmael in his company. Rabbanim, prior to the event, 34 rabbanim in this town came together and worked very hard on endorsing Takonis. One of the statements they made beforehand was a statement about the devastation and the spiritual havoc that the internet has wrought both here in Manchester and across the world. And Noystadt has highlighted and she's focused on that. I've grown up with technology. I've been working with computers for 30 years. I'm almost ashamed to say it, but most people in this room know it. But one thing, I've always kept it in the office. And I can tell you firsthand, it's very, very difficult sometimes. When you have to respond to things, and I was involved as a director in the NHS, and I had to constantly be reading papers and responding. But you know, I'm so grateful that I've taken advice and I stood strong. It's just on an even human level, it creates more menuchas hanefesh. You know what the opposite of menuchas hanefesh is pishul hanefesh. It means you're so distressed, you're so sorry, you're constantly having to focus on a million things when you're having to be bombarded, household tasks, children, emails as well. What do we need it for? When I did work in one of these, in this role, they used to sometimes have something called strategy sessions. And in part of these strategy sessions, there was a tool that they sometimes used. It was called setting the North Star. You know what it means to set the North Star? The North Star is what the sailors and the explorers used to use to make sure they were headed in the right direction. So the phrase setting the North Star is about making sure you know where you're headed. Tonight, we've had it very clearly outlined to us where we should be headed. And you know what? We sometimes need some guidance. We don't have boards of directors. We have rabbanim who do the brainstorming for us and who give us the guidance how to make sure you stay en route, on target, so you keep the North Star, the path of Kedusha, constantly in our mission. And every single one of our actions and decisions should be weighed up and evaluated against our pathway to the North Star. You know what, this is a new emerging relationship sometimes now we have to think about with Rabbanim and with Gedolim. Up till now we've asked shilas and kashrus, and kashrus is another area incidentally which is primarily the role of women. Nobody's standing over us checking exactly how we're doing things. We're entrusted with that kedusha in the house, and I'm sure you all take it very, very seriously to protect that kedusha. Who wants to be retentive the labour of precious family members? We wouldn't dream of it. We don't hesitate to spend a bit extra to make sure that we're absolutely right about it. So what could be so different with the kedusha of what comes into the house? And you know, when it is hard, maybe also recall what Rabbi Waxman said about the schar that he gets. There's something very, very special about having to be mevatel on something. Having your mysterious nefesh and knowing mitzvah nishma l'divrei chachamim. That's something that is very, very rewarding. Old habits die hard. It's difficult to change your habits. If you've been used to shopping online, it's true. But it can be done. And everybody, this is about a culture shift. Everybody together, reinforcing each other, will be able to make some, at least hopefully, some shift, if not all the way. So the comments now that we're endorsed by 34 of this town's rabbanim, and go to read out, there's some ambiguity in the language, and that's deliberate, because we're encouraged to seek our own individual guidance and advice. So the following the Teutonis enacted on behalf of the Manchester community that every person must adhere to. Any individual, community, school, shul, institution wishes to further safeguard themselves with additional measure is praiseworthy. 1. It's prohibited to use any device with internet access unless it has a strong and effective filter. With a high quality filtering solution, and I'll get to that soon, it's not unreasonable to adhere to this. 2. Internet use with a strong and effective filter is only permissible for business use or for other specific important use with the approval of one of the town's rabbanim. The internet may not be used for entertainment, social use, or similar non-business use. And just think to yourself of some of those comments around addictions that people have found themselves in. You wouldn't want to get into that. It's such difficult work to come out of it. Those who work from home must make every effort to have their internet connectivity at another location. It may be thought of a great advantage to working from home, particularly for women, but think about it. It's worth it. It's worth the effort, and there are many, many advantages as well, as I said, in being able to cope and separate out our roles. And number 4, the heads and governing bodies of all the schools, both boys and girls, should enforce the above rulings to ensure their observance and fulfillment, and to impress in the heart of their pupils the seriousness and the severity of the matter, and the danger of using devices which can be connected to the internet. It's worthwhile to start young and embed this in a difficult culture to change. Rabbi Waxman said, maybe we've got a chance to save our young ones. We have to start by setting a good example. Think what kind of example does it set when you pull out your phone with internet or email? What kind of message are you sending to your children? Doesn't matter to them. Listen to the guidance on it. Very, very serious, apart from the fact that they're more likely to justify it from themselves. The internet, to teach them the internet is a tool that's very separate from us. It's relegated to its own spot. It's not the way of life. Now, for those of you in this room who are interested in practical solutions, there's been established in Manchester a branch of what's called the TAG group, which is a technology awareness group. And it's based in the Herschel Weiss Centre. The opening hours are quite well advertised, but you're not sure you can call the Herschel Weiss Centre. I went in there and had a conversation with the people there. I was very, very impressed. It's not intimidating at all. It's not judgmental. They deliberately do not ask names. They do not give guidance. They're not there to dictate what you do. And I actually asked them what's the most common work they do. They generally disable Wi-Fi from laptops. That seems to be the most common request. They say phones are, especially the iPhones, extremely difficult to totally disconnect. All the iPads, iPhones are very, very, very difficult equipment to be reliably disconnected. You can have total anonymity. You can even contact the TAG office remotely by phone. And what they do is they actually instruct the user how to log on to something called TeamViewer, which is a remote access program. Means that somebody in the TAG office can then access the person's computer. The person has to provide them with what's called a password, a user password, which changes every single time for every single session. So privacy is maintained. And then the TAG representative can actually set the filters and do whatever is asked for on the user's computer. So people often sometimes have requests to customize how they want to use their computer. and the tag person can do that, the technician can do it. If you've got any questions, whatever it is, please ask them. They're very knowledgeable. One of the advantages is as well is that they maintain the password. So it's easy enough for any of us to install things like K9 ourselves. One of the dangers of that is that we also know the password. So a much more reliable way, even if you think you know how to do it, they've got the experience to know how to settle categories, to settle things that really, really protect the computer. So I encourage you to approach them. Many women have done so already and are perfectly comfortable about it. And of course, if there are people that feel that a family member has suffered or experienced or are actually too addicted to the internet, you see that through a certain restlessness, and it's becoming increasingly common in shocking statistics of the percentage of university students and people involved in the academic world who are completely internet addicted. You take away the internet from them and they just can't cope. They're restless, they're anxious, they're really suffering problems. It's almost becoming an illness. And if you just observe a group of people in a very public place, you have what you see in the phone. Take out the phone and check that. Is it ringing? Is it buzzing? Constantly watching, checking on what's going on with their computers. We're a different nation. We value our time. What are we doing? Spending our time hours and hours. You've seen the women who sit down, they just go to shop for one thing. 2-3 hours later, they've missed the time for diamond chakras. The house is a mess. They've not bought anything of value. And they've frittered time away. That's not the kind of we want. That's not the kind of people we want to be. And we can rise above it. It's work. It's a culture shift. We can work on it together. And yes, a show should be And thank you again, Reverend Noystadt, for the wonderful words and the very, very, very inspiring session tonight. And thank you for the organisers who helped it.